Hey there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's episode of Hollow Weekly, where we're celebrating the first annual Hollow Weekly Awards. We're your hosts tonight, Nick Rollins, here with
George Haley.
And so basically these awards, it's just a bunch of random categories we made up to talk about all the cool shit from all the cool films and TV shows we saw this year.
First award goes to you for that opening.
It was beautiful.
Schizophrenic.
Yeah, well,
I'm hosting this with like 3 different people.
Well, they announced the Golden Globe nominees today, and we're coming up. We're coming up to the awards season, but it's also it works as an end of the year wrap up and an award season show.
Yep,
we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yep, we like killing things on Hollow Weekly
and streamlining.
Yep,
we like to streamline our death.
Exactly right. So
basically, we're just going to jump right into a bunch of cool shit that we thought happened throughout the year.
Yeah, so let's lower expectations for the listeners. So we are not we're going to, at the very end of this, we're going to go through kind of what we thought were the best horror movies of 2016, but we get pretty bored with the idea of talking about that for 4 hours. So
this year, and we talked about this too, like this year, there was sort of like a universal understanding of like what the best like 4 to 5 films were. Like everyone was pretty much, it seemed like throughout
there's a consensus on
pretty much. I know there's a few who are gonna be like the film sucked, but like
there's also gonna be a few where you say it and people are gonna be like, wait, that came out like 4 years ago, because like really like Green Room, I feel like I've been talking about the movie for 2 years.
Same with The Witch.
But apparently they're 2016, right? So.
Yeah, I double checked it. Even for one of our categories, I had to look. I was like, was that from like season 1 that came out last year or this year? So
yep.
Anyways.
But we have awards that are meaningful to us. So
and if you are a writer, director, producer, or actor who's in any of these films and you win an award, I came up, George didn't know this. Let us know, email us, or hit us up on the Facebook page. I will find the best coupon I have in this box behind me and mail it to you.
Wow.
That's the kind of awards we're handing out.
Solid. String cheese from Ralph's. That's
so
that's exciting.
So keep your ears open for this one. You might have a good deal on the way.
Pay attention.
So let's jump right in.
All
so
right.
on the top of the list, we have the worst jump scare.
Yeah, the award for both worst and best jump scare will go to. Go ahead.
Mine, my worst jump scare
of
2016 goes to the Blair Witch. There's a scene like when they all set up camp and there's like 5 jump scares in a row. You remember that part?
Yes.
It's like, oh my God, there's what's boom. Oh my God, there's no boom. Oh my God, there's boom. Oh my God. Like I watched it and like I was scared because it was, like 5 jump scares. Right. But then like a second later, I was like, why?
Right.
Why did that just happen?
Right. Well, yeah, and like you're gonna get you're marrying someone who can write screenplays, so like it's like they're in acts, right? So apparently this screenplay was like Act 1 intro, Act 2 follow intro, Act 3 jump scares for 20 minutes. Like like why? Why were you right? Very strange.
So okay, what was your worst?
Well, so my best jump scare is The Witch, and it's not a traditional jump scare. It's when she's playing peekaboo down at the basket.
It's an eerie moment.
And the baby disappears.
Yeah.
Right? So first of all, one of the most successful horror movies of the last half decade pretty much built its entire marketing campaign around that image.
Yeah.
Right. That was like every trailer with creepy music behind it. Right. But it was genuinely unsettling, even when you knew it was coming. That's what I love about like a jump scare. They can still jump scare you when you know it's coming is a solid jump
without
scare.
The music.
Right. And
it wasn't like a striking,
yeah, nothing's happening except for she's doing it, right? So, and it threatens something that is innocent and defenseless, which is like a great structure for a jump scare. So I was totally down with that. I like your pick for worst jump scare. The only other bad jump scare I can think of is
I knew we would agree on the Blair Witch.
Yeah.
That
Well,
was-
the Blair Witch was way too much all at once. But the Shallows, when the shark jumps out and eats the surfer, like it was great in the trailer. You got pumped, like
Yeah.
right, like this is going to be a good shark movie. I got excited, like this is going to be a shark movie. And then when it actually happened, like on a big screen, like in the context of the movie, I was like, what is happening with this shark? Like did he accidentally eat the guy because he's trying to catch a flight? like that's not necessary.
He's going to the moon.
Right? Like what? That's not that. That's just like I give you style points, right? But like no shark is going to be like, you know, I mean, literally, he could just swim up and grab you by the foot and drag you down, right?
But he was like,
no, he was like
tossed him like a pizza pie. I remember, like, I want to watch that scene again because I remember it looking like really cool, like the shark.
Yeah,
and
it was
stuff.
amazing in the trailer, but I think that's a testament to how good the marketing for the movie was.
Yeah,
because the trailers were put together better than the actual movie. Like,
yeah,
in the actual movie, you know it's coming, right? Because you've seen it in a million trailers, so that maybe isn't fair. But like when it actually happens, I mean, I swear to God, Nick, the shark. Not only does it go up and get like the guy in midair, but it's like, so in the old cartoons, like old fashioned cartoons, like you'd have a dancer, he'd walk along and he'd be on a sidewalk and he'd get good news or be excited and he'd jump up and he'd click his heels in the air, right? And the shark does it with his tail. Like while he's eating the guy, his tail's like 45 angle right, like
little click.
Like just because I'm having such a good time eating this guy, I'm like,
It was a great day.
what? No. So that's my.
So that's your worst jump scare.
Yep.
All right, so my best jump scare. Just we kind of crisscrossed. That was my fault there. But my best jump scare. I ended up going with, and I didn't want my list to constantly be Ash vs. Evil Dead and Conjuring 2, but I really liked the painting scene with Valak.
Yes.
I really liked Valak in this film. The scene, I still think I will. Okay, so as much as I love The Conjuring 2, I think it's just the goofiest part was when they wake up and he's like he's painting and she's like, "Wow, you're up early." He goes, "I couldn't sleep, but I painted this little number."
I hated that.
I was like,
I mean, I sort of liked it.
Jesus fucking Christ, that's what you woke up. You painted that shit.
I made you breakfast in bed. There's some coffee on, and I painted this for you. Ta-da!
Here's a demon nun.
What's the creep? Well, the world's creepiest painting.
But the jump scare part I liked is when the wife goes after Valak through the hall and then she looks at the painting. I thought that scene, the tension with that, with the lights going out, with her in the background, like I fucking love James Wan. And
the painting's so static, right? So you know when it moves, it's gonna freak you out. But like the way it was,
and just I think the design for Valak is just so fucking good.
Yeah, that was, but tell everyone the story of the last time we watched this movie because
no, I can't.
What? Okay.
The last time we watched it?
Yeah.
Are you going to talk about my personal thing with The Conjuring?
No, I'm going to talk about the last time we watched it, where you watched it on a screen that was this big.
Oh yeah, we watched it on the flight to London.
Yes.
Air New Zealand, which is probably one of the coolest flights you can take.
They're the best, right?
Oh my god, I didn't sleep. 10-hour flight. I watched like 3 Batman animated films, and then I saw that The Conjuring 2.
Yep.
You saw Lights Out.
I saw Conjuring 2, but that's why I brought it up was I'm looking at it on a screen the size of my iPhone, and it still was scary.
Yeah, it was still really good.
Right?
And that was Alex's first viewing of it,
right,
on that little screen, and she still really liked it.
Yep.
She's seen both of them. So Conjuring 2, best jump
No,
scare.
I'm not going to talk about the fact that.
Nope, because that's on my list for one thing.
Best spoiler alert of 2016. Nick? No, I'm not even
No.
Okay. Good. Next on the list.
Okay, so just so they know, you and I don't have we're each giving out different awards. Most of them we have the same thing. So like the next one,
right? And some we don't have answers for. You only one of us is giving awards.
Exactly. So I think this next one, this one.
Oh,
goes
that's
to
just
you.
me, right?
This one's you. So
right.
No. Well, this is the first annual Hollow Weekly Awards. So
right.
we're
still
working out the kinks.
Okay, so this award is best movie to give you a piece of really bad advice in its title, and that movie would be Don't Breathe.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Terrible advice.
Someone hands you a poster.
Please breathe.
Please breathe. The sequel.
Please breathe. Right. Exactly.
Breathe harder.
No, actually, the reason I put this award on here was that it was the beats of like the movie titles have gotten way more generic and less interesting over time, right? Like, you know, there was an era where you were doing like movies.
One
like,
Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
That's fucked up.
Were you about to say that?
That is fucked.
Shut the fuck up.
That is the exact fucking movie title. That is so creepy. Wow. Never mind. Right? But even like The Shining is a movie set in the hotel, but it's not called The Hotel, right?
Yeah.
It's The Shining. There's something enigmatic about it, right? But in this one, it's like Hush, Don't Breathe, Disappointment's Room, The Darkness. They're all literally just...
Shallows.
Right. Exactly.
Telling
right?
you what you're going to say.
Right,
yeah.
exactly. And Don't Breathe was the same kind of like whatever, but it was obviously the worst advice of all the...
Yeah.
Right. So this award is just to prompt people to come up with better fucking titles. Are you kidding? Like these titles are all like Divergent.
The Witch.
Now The Witch.
I love the movie.
Font.
That's true.
Tricky
That
W,
is
and
true.
then a New England folktale.
That is true. I mean, the Witch.
No. Yeah, I'm not counting them. They had that on lockdown because visually they were, you know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
Okay, so the next Hollow Weekly Award. And remember, we have some coupons on the line. So
Yes, that's right.
So these are the stakes are high.
Listen up, cheese
or
lovers.
the stakes are on the coupon or else.
Right,
All
exactly.
right. So the next one is best creature. So there's a handful of really cool creatures this year.
You're our resident creature expert.
The
so
resident
I'm gonna give
creature
you-
expert.
I'm going to give you this one.
So, and I feel kind of weird for giving it to this one, but I really, really liked it. So the runners up I had was the creature from Stranger Things. And if you play the game The Last of Us, I haven't, but I know what the creatures look like. They look kind of the same. Like they have like the flowery looking head, but his is just like skin or something.
Right.
Something. I was gonna either give it to the monster from Stranger Things. Valak was up there because I really like it's just she is terrifying. And the other runner up was Medea from Boo and Medea's Halloween. Zing.
Yeah.
All right, so
No one's winning a coupon.
but I gave it to Ted Raimi, reprising his role as possessed Henrietta from Evil Dead 2 in Ash vs. Evil Dead.
Nice.
He came back to play her. If you haven't seen, in fact, I think season 2 just had season finale yesterday.
Okay.
So I don't want to. Usually we don't give a shit about spoilers. We say like watch it or don't listen. But
Right.
But you see here in the episode before, and it's hilarious. The way they fight, and even some of the behind the scenes. They just showed some of the like. I'm a big CGI guy, but I also love like the actual making shit. And they had like the head for Henrietta come out like an Evil Dead 2, and it looked really cool. So
That's awesome.
I'm gonna give best creature to possessed Henrietta.
I have no entries for this except for Black Phillip.
Yeah. Well,
But I don't want this whole episode to be the witch. So
Black Phillip could win every category if he just tells us why he should win it. He's like, I should win. Best. Worst plot twist.
subliminally manipulating Halloween Weekly.
So that's best creature. All right. So now moving on here, we got this one. This one will be.
So we're
Next one's you.
This is a twin category. So we have the award for best introduction to a character, and then worst introduction to a character.
Okay, you start off with
Best.
introduction.
So I thought the best introduction to a character in a horror movie in 2016 was how we meet Lily in I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House, the Netflix original. So this movie's a little polarizing, and I know a lot of people who aren't Netflix, they didn't see it because it didn't get wide release, but the framing of the movie is amazing. It's got a very Shirley Jackson feel to it, which is I think all for the good because she's one of the greatest horror writers who ever lived. But everything's framed really like dead on, close up, not moving, right? And I did not know this, but the director of this movie is the son, I believe, of Anthony Perkins, who played Norman Bates, Psycho, right?
God.
So this is someone with like deep horror, old school horror roots, right? And the way we meet this character is that she walks into the house where she's going to be the caretaker for an old woman who lives in the house, who's a famous horror writer. And the camera just frames her in this creepy house. She's not really moving. She has like this tiny smile on her face, but not really. And then you're hearing her narrate, but her mouth's not moving. And she says, my name is Lily. I'm 28 years old. I'm here to be the caretaker for this woman, like whatever. I'm not going to live to be 29. And then the movie starts.
There you go.
Like literally, spoiler, right?
Yeah.
Like, but the movie's like, we're just going to tell you, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's like the quiet version of The Bride from Kill Bill, right?
Yeah.
So I just thought that was a great introduction. And I was not expecting like that little twist of.
That's always a cool like character line whenever they tell you some shit like that.
Yep.
Because you go into it like, all right.
Right. Right.
I actually just came up with my answer.
Sweet.
For this one. And it's kind of a bullshit answer. This is sort of like the filmy answer that I'm giving for this. But I'm actually going to go with the introduction of the house. And I don't want to just keep saying the same movies over and over again. But I think the way because the house was almost a character in Don't Breathe.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes.
I'm not like just pulling this bullshit out.
No, I agree with you. I mean, the first shot of Don't Breathe, you can barely tell there's human beings in it. It's the city, right?
Yeah.
I mean, architecture is important to this thing.
Yeah, but so that first shot was him dragging the girl. But remember, like when they go into
way
the house,
up, right?
So, but no, right. The shot when they go into the house. Remember, it goes through the whole thing. It shows you the little crawl space she's gonna go through. The dog chaser. Yep. Shows you everything.
It was almost like a Sam Raimi zoom, like, but with no creature. It was the camera was like moving and weaving.
What it reminded me of was from Insidious. Do you remember the intro? It had the lamp upside down, and then they flip the camera, then they go down, go through the house, and then they see that creature that scared the shit out of me. That old woman who's actually, I think, was a man in makeup. It reminded me of that, but I really like the shot just because it sets up everything and it gives you a lay of the land,
right? Which
makes a lot of sense because the house is going to be pretty damn dark.
Yes,
so you need to see where
you need to see where you're going.
Okay, so now we go on to worst intro.
Okay, well,
to a character.
We don't like to get negative here on Hello Weekly, but
hardly ever.
What the hell is wrong with Rob Zombie? Like, so Doomhead in 31. You're introduced to this character, and first of all, he's in a stare down contest with you as you're watching the movie. Like, he's just staring at you. He's wearing his white clown makeup, and he's like, "I'm not a fucking clown." I'm like,
okay,
okay, like I didn't start an argument with you. I just turned on a movie and you were there in clown makeup and then told me you're not a clown, right? So like my answer to you is like, if you could hear me, like, I know it looks like I'm watching this movie, but I am not a fan. Like, what are you doing, right?
I wish you could talk to him.
That would be the most amazing.
Because he's like, I'm not a fucking clown. Right. Are you in clown makeup? Yeah.
Right.
Well, you're a fucking clown.
Right. Well, and the thing is, like, I get how, so the structure of it, it's okay to, like, Shakespeare did that, for fuck's sake. Like, characters can turn to the audience and talk to them, but there's something about the way that Zombie was doing this in the beginning of this movie that was like, I felt like I was not just watching him do it, but I was watching him do like the 10 rehearsals in front of the mirror in his trailer before he did it. I'm like, no. Right. So totally, like, the entire movie is sunk for me in like 45 seconds. Terrible introduction.
All right. Yeah, I didn't even bother to see. I like the trailer. The trailer had pretty shots in it, but that's about
yes, it did.
That's about it.
It always does.
Okay, so my worst character introduction went to James, the main.
I know what you're gonna say.
The main kid from Blair Witch.
Yep.
I just didn't give a shit about him.
No.
Like, it wasn't like it was bad delivery, bad lines. You know, like the guy from 31. It was just shit. Like, it was just pure horse shit. Like. Yep. I didn't give a shit about, like, he was like an EMT and he saw like a video with his sister.
Yep.
And then that did it. But like that, I mean, for story's sake, it just gave me no weight for this character. And I immediately, just saying it, I thought about the movie Quarantine and Wreck.
Sure.
But at least them, you spend some time with them. Like, I'm thinking, I've seen both, but the one I'm thinking of more is the Quarantine, when they go to like the fire department and they're playing around with the firemen, doing all that stuff. Like, it characterizes them a little bit, and you sort of like get to feel with them. Whereas Blair Witch, it sort of seems like he's just like, hi, I'm a guy, I'm gonna go look for my sister, let's go.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, okay. Your sister's gone, but good luck.
Well, yeah, but it was also, you're absolutely right, it was also more troubling because there are problems that you have to solve, right? So like I was just listening to something really interesting about Phantasm Ravager, where they were saying that it's the first Phantasm movie that wasn't shot on film. Mm-hmm. And when you shoot something digitally, it's less forgiving. Like, film can hide mistakes, right? So like the old Blair Witch was set in a time where technology was like, you know, as a storytelling piece, it was rougher, had more texture, right? Now you got to work in things like Google Hangouts and viral videos and like whatever. And there's a way to do that. And the way to do it is not the way this movie did it.
Yeah.
Because like, you don't make emotional connections with this. Everyone knows that if you look at a video and the video is like, hey, this might have happened, like whatever.
Yeah.
You're like, well, that's probably not the whole
I think
story.
all the characters have bad introductions. Like, like his friend was being a real...
No, not all of them. There's the drone had a great introduction.
That was dumb.
I'm fucking with you.
It's like, hey, you want an ass shot? Well, no, his friend. Remember, they meet the weird guy and the weird guy and his girlfriend. But then the main dude and his bestie, he was just being a total cocksucker to the guy the whole time. And I'm like, dude, like, this is weird. Though I do have some props going to Blair Witch later on in this list, so I'm not just shitting on it constantly.
Yeah, I'm looking.
I already gave it worst jump scare, worst character, but it has some pretty good merits. So that's worst character, worst intro to a character.
So I'm gonna skip the one you think is next. I'm gonna backtrack to it. I'm gonna introduce the next twin subject because I don't want to do too many title ones in a row. So the next twin subject is the 2016 Halloween Weekly Award for Best Plot Twist.
Which is good because I'm going to give Blair Witch a good...
and worst plot twist.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right, so what's your best plot twist?
Okay, so to not constantly shit on Blair Witch, it makes it sound like I only watched 3 films this year. but they stuck with me for one
And
reason.
they were all on a plane.
They were all on a plane. I watched all of them on an Air New Zealand flight. That's how I watch all my movies. I just fly to London, land, stretch,
buy a ticket, right,
and I fly back. Okay, so the best plot twist I gave, which I actually thought was really fucking cool, was when you found out that the Blair Witch could control time.
Yep.
To me, like, as soon as, like, because I love comic books and like superpowers.
Yep.
And all this geeky shit.
Yep.
So like when I discovered in the film that she can control time, I was like, oh, snap.
Right.
Because you know how many conversations I had of like, who would win in a fight? Freddy versus Jason.
Yep.
Jason or Michael. And now I'm like, Blair Witch.
Blair Witch wins.
Blair Witch wins. She controls time. She controls time. Right. You win.
She understands something Einstein couldn't figure out.
Yeah, like Freddy can control your dreams. I don't think she sleeps, but she can control time. And that was actually
one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Like when they saw the guy who was going to lead them in the forest.
Yep.
I think I saw someone on Reddit commented. He had the line of like, "Oh, they look just like I remember them," which must mean in his head like years have passed.
Yeah. And
to me, that's really terrifying.
That is cool.
And I think it's probably one of the coolest like villain superpowers.
Totally.
That I've seen recently, other than like being like indestructible, or having
which is sort of boring actually.
It is boring. Right. Like controlling time, like that's like it's to what people think is scary about Freddy not being able to sleep. Yep. Like, okay, that's threatening, but like time itself is
that's
scary.
So interesting you said that because to me, Freddy, like not being able to sleep is only hand in hand as terrifying as having everyone who's supposed to know things about life telling you bad advice. Mm-hmm. Like what's equally terrifying about Nightmare on Elm Street to me is that all the adults are like, here's some sleeping pills. I'll take you to the doctor. We'll just get you to sleep. All you need is some sleep. Look at the circles under your eyes. So you look like shit. Like, And because people are telling you the exact wrong thing, right? Which is a terrifying, like whatever. In Blair Witch, you're automatic as soon as you realize she can control time. Like, I don't know, like I was literally spending the next 5 minutes half watching movie and half thinking, how do you beat that? Like I'd have to have a mirror. Am I growing a beard? Like how do you fight that? Like, you know what I mean? And that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's a really cool.
You lose. So that's my best plot twist.
Sorry, Freddie, you lose.
Yeah. Blair Witch got you.
So my best plot twist was actually a post-credits stinger in Ouija Origin of Evil. I loved, spoiler alert, I loved that at the end of the movie, it connects up with the original. And what I really loved about it was this movie worked so hard to set itself in a believable past. And the fact that the last scare it gives you is you just looped to the original movie is like, it's almost sort of obvious, but they did it in a way that was still got your adrenaline going and was kind of like a surprise. Yeah. And I thought the way they executed was just perfect.
Do you think that enhances the original?
No. No, I don't. I wish the original didn't exist. I wish the Blair Witch could go back in time and make the original not exist, because that's
the way you just made the way you like when you were describing it in my head. I was like, the Origins of Evil. I sort of imagined it as like the big brother to Ouija. It's like, don't worry, man. I know you didn't get good reviews, but I'm gonna show them what a good movie looks like.
That's exactly what it was. They beat up the first movie and took his lunch money.
Yeah.
He was like, I'll get it back for you.
People will laugh at the trailers, but you wait. And that's exactly what I did.
That is fantastic.
Oh, well, you can't call them all. All right.
So so we'll backtrack to the category. The award category is Best Truth in Advertising.
Well, we're not going to do Worst Plot Twist?
Oh, we didn't do Worst Plot
Worst Plot
Never
Twist.
mind.
Let's go back to it. Well, you actually wrote one down that I agreed with.
Okay.
So I'm with the second one because I didn't see the first
one.
I didn't see the first one, but the second one I'm gonna go with you with. So go ahead.
Okay. So the worst horror plot twist of 2016. There's two. One is because it legitimately bothered me because I felt like it damaged what was basically a good movie, which is the plot twist at the end of The Boy. Mm-hmm. I could do a whole separate podcast on this because I was so angry at how this went. But The Boy is actually later down on my list for something else. But I really, really enjoyed the first half, or maybe even first 3/4 of this movie. Mm-hmm. And it had a great character in the actual boy, right? Which is this spooky, possibly haunted, paranormal doll that turns out to be Rob Zombie living in a wall in a house. Like it's just some big angry guy in a house, and he just kind of makes the boy do things or like disappear or like whatever the fuck it was, like whatever. It's just a guy, right? Like it was, you had terrible. One of the best. No, but see, here's the thing. It's not terrible if the character you introduce is more interesting than the character that you took out, right? So if the character who lived like for all the shit that everyone gave the Friday the 13th reboot, and I don't like it, but they decided they were going to go all in, and Jason has tunnels and he goes through the ground, and that's why he can get from place to place faster than you think he can, right? Mm-hmm. And they were like, we think this is interesting, we're just going to go with it, right? I think that's wrong, but I could see how they got to this is more interesting.
Yeah.
But spooky ventriloquist dolls are one of the coolest horror characters you can invent. And a guy who lives in the walls and grows his hair out and doesn't shave is not more interesting than that guy.
No.
Like, wrong. Why would you do that?
Wrong.
Yeah. And then they smash the boy at the end. Like, literally, we invented a great character. Now we're just going to smash this guy, and the other guy's going to go like eat some ramen noodles. What? Like, fuck this plot twist. That was terrible.
Yeah, that sucks.
And we have one more worst plot twist.
Yeah.
You want to talk about it because you know what it is.
Yeah. So I'll go. I saw you wrote it down. I was like, bingo. I agree with that one because that was very fucking weird. So the kidnapped girl and Don't Breathe. It was just, I mean, like, I mean, we talked about it with Alex Taylor when he came on. We did our review, so we, you know, you can check that out if you want to like really listen to like what we fucking thought
back
about
catalog, right?
But come on, like I don't know.
Okay, well, let's just.
They could have done something like someone trapped in the basement. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a writer, but like there just could have been something fucking else involving her that could have been fucking awesome. But
right. Well, I don't like how it started, and I don't like how it ended. And I'm talking about the plot twist. So I don't like the fact that it started with me sitting in a chair for 10 minutes trying to figure out how a blind guy got out of his house and kidnapped someone from across town.
His dog did it.
That makes more sense than anything they told us. And I don't like how it ended because it ended with something I don't want to talk about again.
Yeah.
Right. But like that whole plot twist was problematic to me. So not good either way.
Yeah. Poor guy. I could imagine him at Thanksgiving. He's like, can you pass the gravy?
We're not talking about this anymore. Okay.
All right.
On we go to
worst plot twist.
No. That was worst plot twist. We're going back to best truth in advertising, which
best truth. Well, it's actually because that one and the next one are both the same movie again.
Okay. Well, we'll skip that one. Don't worry about it.
No.
Okay.
Go for it because I have to talk about truth in advertising.
So best truth in advertising, and there's a very specific reason that I put this on the list for myself is best truth in advertising for 2016 is The Disappointments Room.
Mm-hmm.
You put disappointing in the title, that's a really risky gamble.
Yeah.
You want to have something behind it to back it up so you make sure that doesn't come back and bite you in the ass. And you didn't do it because that movie's terrible.
You know what you could also use? It depends if I need to look it up and see how much money it made. But if you wrote The Green Room,
right?
If you're the writer, director, producer,
making a bunch of
you made a bunch of moolah.
Yeah, exactly. So The Disappointments Room is disappointing specifically for me because Kate Beckinsale is one of the best modern actresses who still is willing to do horror franchise stuff. Mm-hmm. I know everyone thinks of her now as like the underworld, like whatever, but she was in legitimately great fucking movies like The Last Days of Disco. She can act like a motherfucker. She has an IQ of like 200. She was amazing in Love and Friendship. She's just a really good, solid talent. Yeah. And she's still willing to do horror movies, and that should be rewarded. Don't give her steaming pile of shit movies to do. Like what? Yeah. So I read my favorite album review when people used to do this of all time was a one line in I think it was Spin Magazine where it was a live album of Pink Floyd, and the line was, "You can't listen to a light show." Right? So the review of this movie, Disappointments Room, was, if you enjoy watching someone walk around, act confused for 2 hours, you're going to love this. Because she basically, Kate Beckinsale walks around for the entire movie like, something bad might be around this corner. Like, what a waste. But that's not even the main reason it's on here. The main reason it's on here is the screenwriting credit is to Wentworth Miller, who made one of my favorite horror movies of the last 20 years, which was called Stoker. I love the shit out of that movie. And he's a great writer. And I don't know what happened here, but like I was so psyched that this was coming out, and it was as disappointing as it promised it would be.
Yeah. So mine is a little different. And again, I'm looking at all of my movies are like 2 to 3 movies, and like because it was so funny. I was like, well, I don't want my whole list to be Ash versus Evil Dead, but let's let it be The Conjuring too. So no, okay. So this is different. This is actually not truth in advertising. This is just a personal thing that haunts me. I don't know why. It might be all in my head. Okay, so dig this. So this is with both movies, right? Okay, so we saw Conjuring 1 in the theater, Alex and I. We get a call. My phone's going off the hook. Crazy. So my sister was in like a really, really like crazy bad car accident. And so we're like, oh shit, that sucks. So like we left the movie at like the third act, maybe the beginning of the third act. And so we're like, oh, we really liked that movie, so like we'll see it again so we can see how it ends. We go the second time. Alex gets this like wicked crazy migraine, and we're like, okay, so movie's cursed. That's cool, not a big deal,
right?
So legit, when we went to see the second one, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, well, bad things will happen.
I hope bad things happen. And then some old dude had a heart attack and croaked in the theater. Yep. There was one other thing that happened that I don't fucking remember. But I remember, and I know a lot is just coincidence.
Sure, of course.
Or some shit like that. But then we watched it on the plane. And then like it was like the part of the flight where it was just like the worst turbulence ever. And in my head, I'm watching it going, well, this is how it ends. I'm gonna die on the way to London, right? Because I decided to watch The Conjuring. But that's the thing.
Well, the best truth in advertising would have been if the subtitle of the movie was The Conjuring 2. Bad luck for Nick.
Conjuring 2, right. Conjuring up some bad shit, right, making Nick paranoid. So I don't know.
I like cursed movies. I'm a fan of them.
I don't know. So I think I'm excited to see what fucked up things happen with The Conjuring 3.
Yeah, The Conjuring 3 comes out, and right.
If it happens.
Your car gets
so it's not true than advertising. It's just some shit I wanted to give an award to. So
I love it. The next category is most improved. We can just blitz through that because it's Ouija Origin of Evil, which is way better than the original movie.
I was actually going to give mine The Conjuring 2.
Stop saying Conjuring 2.
Yeah, okay, I know. That's why I didn't want to say it.
All right, and the next award is
this is different.
Best friendship in a horror movie
I like your
TV
answer.
show in 2016. This is pretty obvious, but I think we all know that the best friendship in a horror movie, because your answer is not from a movie. In a horror movie is Blake Lively and the seagull in The Shallows.
That seagull was dope.
That seagull was the shit, man.
He was good. He was the best part.
He was the best actor.
Yeah,
and his emotions were spot on.
He was just like, saw a bird on a rock with a supermodel and a shark.
So, but here's the thing. Here's what I know about this friendship. This friendship was so solid that if there was a Shallows 2, you'd be sitting in the theater thinking, when's the seagull showing up? And if he doesn't,
that's a bad
you're
movie.
like, what the fuck?
I loved how like the seagull made it at the end and they had that little moment.
Yep.
That was the best part.
Yep.
Friends
forever.
I wonder if the seagull can chomp through metal, because apparently every animal in that film can just.
No. The seagull can't chop through metal. His leg doesn't even work.
That's true. So my best friendship, I wanted it to be Pablo and Ash, but that's too easy. So I ended up going.
Love your answer.
I ended up going with 11 from Stranger Things.
Yep.
And Eggo waffles. nothing in the world made that girl happier than Eggo waffles. You try to find me a frame from any horror film that has or science fiction thing. You find me a frame of joy.
Yep.
And I'll show you that. And my answer will always be right.
Right. But the reason that is so funny to me is eventually we'll do a Facebook Live video. Anyone who has not seen Nick really enjoy a plate of food is not going to understand how appropriate this choice is.
I didn't even think about that. That's true.
For Nick, there is a level of excitement. Like it's Spinal Tap. Set it at 11.
That's hilarious.
That friendship makes sense to you.
That's like subconscious.
Yep. All right, so this one's going to take a little reading. I apologize in advance. The category here is, and this should be an award at the Oscars. I don't know what the hell's wrong with these people. Hardest working director of 2016, and I am going to give total props. I love your answer. I saw what you wrote, and it's fantastic. But
yours, I get your, like we talked about yours, and that's
right. I'm going to give total props to Anna Biller, the director of The Love Witch. You, first of all, if you haven't seen this movie or heard of this movie, you got to check it out. Second of all, it is insane the level of work that went into this movie, and I would, if I saw someone pirating this movie, I'd punch him in the head. Like, you need to give your dollars to someone who works this hard to make a movie like this. She like directed it, wrote it, produced it, like all kinds of like crazy shit. But watch this next level stuff. I called up a couple articles from an interview with her so I'm going to make this brief. The interview answer to her was about developing this movie. She said it was 2 years of researching witchcraft, psychology, screenwriting, movies, and writing scripts. 5 years in production, most of which was pre-production, designing, constructing costumes and props, buying props, scouting locations. And then when they ask her like about the music for the movie, she goes, yeah, I wrote some of the music for harp. Like, what? Like, you designed the costumes, you made the costumes, you worked for 5 years on bringing this thing to life, and you decided you were going to write some harp music for this. Are you kidding me? Like, this movie is insanely good, and she has put heart and soul into it. So, like, I support it 1,000%, and she worked her ass off, and she well deserves the award for effort.
I agree.
But your answer is equally valid.
Yeah, I went with Robert Eggers of The Witch. And I read somewhere that he spent like, I don't know if it was 5 years on the script, but he spent 5 years on some aspect of the film. I think it was getting the setting and tone of it right. And for a
figuring
film,
out dialect and all that stuff.
For a film like that, where like, because like I remember when it started, they were talking in like the old Englishy type shit, and I was like, oh wow, like they're doing it.
Oh wow,
they're really good. So both these directors spent a handful of years working on
next level effort.
Great. Yeah, and both of them are like, I've seen the trailer for The Love Witch, and like when you were talking about it, I was like, I bet this is like if I Dream of Jeannie had like a goth sister. That's sort of
it's actually amazing because it's not only is it legitimately scary in parts, but it's like
it's super stylized.
It's super stylized, but beyond all the call outs to like retro horror and the satanic horror and all the stuff that this movie's doing is the I think the best thing is you hate when people have just like straight out answers to things that can't be argued. Like, I always mistrust someone when I'm like, like, who's the best U.S. president in history? And they're just like automatically like whoever, like Abraham Lincoln. Yeah. Like if you can't entertain another possibility, that makes me feel like I mistrust your mind, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's the thing with this is like, I don't think the director of this knows exactly what she was trying to do.
Yeah.
I don't think she knows exactly how she feels about some of the issues she raised. She just knew it would be amazing if you did it in a certain way that it was provocative.
Yeah.
Right. Which is incredible. So, all right. I'm actually really excited about the next category. So go ahead.
Best death. All right.
That was my segue was, I'm really excited about this. You're like, best death.
Well, it's because listen.
Yes.
Like, I said, like, I kind of liked Don't Breathe. I said I liked it. I said I liked it.
We both liked it.
Sorry, fans, that this movie had a lot of really good moments in it, but the one part... So I was debating, like even I was trying to change my answer last minute. I was like, was there anything from, like, the Exorcist series? And I don't want to give too many answers. It was funny. I didn't want to give a lot of answers to Ash vs. Evil Dead, but I'm giving it all to, like, Blair Witch...
Conjuring
Don't Breathe, Conjuring 2. But because there was a lot of shit in Ash vs. Evil Dead, like when his car gets possessed, the tire lands on a teenager's face and spins, and his face flies off. Linda comes back and he puts her in the trunk of a car and her head's sticking out, and he rips his chainsaw up and cuts her head off clean.
Beautiful.
Bunch of cool shit like that. But like, okay, the first big death in Don't Breathe, that slow motion gunshot.
It's so weird you picked that, considering what I picked. My God.
What'd you pick? You have it on the list. I don't know who that is.
Yeah, wait till I tell you what happened.
Okay, but that slow motion shot, like, I remember watching it, and then, like, my very first thought being, like, I can't wait for this to, like, come out on VOD or someone to upload, like, just this, like, 4 seconds on YouTube just to see that scene again. It was just so cool. Like
and you're an amazing video editor, so when that catches your eye, you know it's
like the glow in his cheek and all that stuff. I was like,
that's badass.
I was trying to think of like what's a cool death, and is it a cool death in terms of like, someone gets like torn, quartered, and
Something creative, right?
Yeah. And I thought that was just like, I thought that was super creative, just in terms of like, hey, I've never seen someone get their head blown off in slow motion.
Visually, it was for sure.
So
well, very very strange the one you named, because watch this. So you didn't see 10 Cloverfield Lane, so So spoiler alert, obviously for anyone who hasn't seen it, but Emmett is a character in 10 Cloverfield Lane, and there is an amazing moment, right? Mm-hmm. I cannot do justice to this because John Goodman was one of the greatest actors of all time, but there's this amazing moment where John Goodman realizes that the two people living with him, Mary Elizabeth Winstead and whoever's playing Emmett, are someone's betrayed him, right? So he calls them and they go into a room, and it's like Breaking Bad style. He has this huge 10-gallon drum, 50-gallon drum, whatever. He pulls the lid off and there's acid in it. He's like, one of you's going in here and dissolving alive because you betrayed me, like whatever. And they both were doing it, but the guy decides he's going to talk his way out of it and take the fall because there's only 3 of them left hypothetically in the entire world.
Yeah.
Right. So you can't just you got to keep everyone around. Like you can't just kill people when there's only 3 left. That's like eating the last cookie in your house, right? So
can't do it.
No, can't do it. Or the last Eggo waffle, was the case.
No.
Exactly. So the guy goes, I was trying to make a weapon because you have a gun and she fears you, and I want her to fear and respect me the way that she fears you. Mm-hmm. He's like, but I'm sorry. And John Goodman's like, that was your motivation? You wanted to be like me? And he's like, yeah, I did. I mean, who wouldn't want to be like you? I'm sorry. And John Goodman goes, I accept your apology. And Mary Elizabeth Winstead, the whole tension of the scene drains out, and she's like, oh. And then John Goodman blows his head off with a pistol. And it is astounding how, because they do the sound thing, like where if a gun goes off right next to your head, there's just ringing and you can't hear anything. Mm-hmm. And John Goodman's like talking to her, but you can't hear what he's saying because all her ears are ringing and it's from her POV. And like the whole scene is terrifying. But the fact that Emmett goes down in a brave way, like trying to take the heat and say it was all me, even though it was both of them, right? Mm-hmm. And the fact that you don't really see this coming, like I was so shocked when it happened, like perfectly executed, like moment to moment. Great scene.
Best death. Best death ever. Evil Force.
Oh yeah, I have an enigmatic category here. So the award, I'm going to give the award for best evil force in all horror for 2016. Right?
Okay.
To me, the award for the best evil force in all of horror is alcohol and depression. Take your pick. It was unreal how many movies were, like I just saw that movie, The Monster.
Yeah.
And it's unreal how many movies were showing people coping with depression, like Lights Out, like The Mom in Lights Out, right? Or alcohol or drug use or a combination thereof.
Yeah.
And the horror was basically a metaphor for that, right? And this goes back a long way. Like everyone knows, like Stephen King writing about alcoholism is kind of like what fueled The Shining, right? Like and Jack Torrance's character and why he fails at life or whatever. But it was everywhere. Every time it snuck up on you. Every time I turn on a movie like Green Room or like whatever, it was there as kind of like hand in hand with the actual supernatural horror that was going on, right? So I think there's something interesting going on with how culture is taking like the modern era and the collapse of economies and how, you know, people deal with things, but it was pretty much everywhere. And kudos to the people who were writing it well. Right.
Yeah.
the only other evil force, like best evil force of 2015, would have been like Platinum Dooms, but.
Oh, damn.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Shade. Slay, George. My evil force.
Yes.
I'm actually going to go with Captain Howdy.
Yeah.
Just a series.
Yeah.
It's kind of a classic answer, but
no,
hey, he made an appearance this year. He's
right?
back. He's back, and he's pissed.
Terrifying. Actually, if you're doing that, I might go with the tall man from Phantasm series, just because it was his last chance to do that role, and he passed away during the shooting of it, and holy shit, I think that series started in 79. It's 2016, and it's the same guy.
Yeah. Jesus.
Like Exorcist is older. I think it's 73, but like nobody in the Fox series is from the movie, right? Like Phantasm.
No.
It's the same fucking dude.
Yeah.
That's hardcore.
That's pretty good. But I wanted to give it to Captain Howdy just because I think his voice is pretty unsettling. So
it really is.
He gets it. He gets it from me. So moving on.
You start this one because
best one-liner. So mine's not really a one-liner.
All right.
But more or less just a funny Ash quote. It was gonna go to Ash vs. Evil Dead because he says so much funny shit. Like he said, there was one that didn't make my list today, but it was in the last episode. Minor spoilers. Ash gets his hand back for a while, and he looks at the people and he goes, "Look, I got a brand spanking new hand, or a brand new spanking hand."
He is so good.
He's so good. But that's not the quote I wanted to give it to. That one I just watched it and I was like, I have to tell everyone about that.
That's the runner-up.
So the one that I actually loved all of them, so I just picked a random one. I couldn't figure out what the best one was, but this one I thought was pretty funny. So the quote, it's more of a quote. It's not a one-liner. I'm bending the rules. He says, "So Ash, Ruby said this would be hard." Buddy, I've had harder turds. You're a joke of a demon.
That's pretty good.
The confidence of saying that to a demon, right to his face, like
you
have to give credit to the guy. He just doesn't give
stellar.
a shit.
No, he's zero.
He's past it.
Yep. Well, I snuck on our we're gonna cover this at the end of the episode, but on our Facebook page. At Hello Weekly and our Letterboxd account, we kind of came up with our best movies of the year, horror movies of the year. I think there's like 12, 13 on there. Probably 13 because that would be right?
Yep.
But I snuck a documentary on there. I know it's not horror. I know it's not traditionally horror or whatever, but
it counts.
Yeah, it totally counts because, there's tons of bloodshed and tons of like whatever, but it's the Amanda Knox documentary. And I know someone who worked on it. He's a great person. And it's really well put together, but in Netflix did something really interesting when they released the Amanda Knox documentary. They released 2 trailers, which I thought was super cool. So when you saw the trailers, you got to pick. You could click one trailer for the documentary if you still thought she was probably guilty, and you could pick one trailer if you thought she was innocent. And they were different trailers, right? Which is a cool move. But on the Suspect Her trailer, where you think she might be, high odds of being guilty.
Yeah.
At the end of it, she says this incredible thing. It's in the documentary too, but the impact it had is so great. It's not like a traditional one-liner, like comic, like whatever. Right? But she said, so this is everyone's worst nightmare about this case. Either
I'm a psychopath in sheep's clothing, or I am you.
And it was so like perfect, right? Because either she's someone who looks innocent and played it off as innocent and got away with it because she has no conscience whatsoever, or she's just any random person on a vacation having a good time getting their life ruined, right? By something they can't control. So it was literally, it was the most memorable line from anything that I put in the horror category from the year. And I just love it's from a documentary, so sue me.
So worst line.
Yes.
Worst line. I don't have one for this one. I couldn't think of anything. I made up one.
You made up one.
I made up one that
From a movie that doesn't exist?
for a movie that does exist. So it's funny because like I don't ever want to rewatch Don't Breathe, but in my head, the turkey baster, she yells, "Suck this." Does she say something like that? Because in my head, that's what I've put in my head. I don't think that's true. In fact, I'm going to say it's not true. I'm going to acknowledge that there's that line probably was never on the page or never in the audio of the movie, but in my head, it's because I've been watching a lot of Ash vs. Evil Dead. they give a suck on this.
I worked way too hard at this. I didn't know we could make shit up. All right, hold on, go back. Worst movie of the year: Michael Bay's Dracula. What? Like,
no,
we can't just make stuff
I'm
up.
in the ballpark. I'm in the ballpark. She had to have said something. There was a bad line. I know there was a bad line.
No,
in
I
that
think
movie.
there was actually.
Was there? There was something.
It wasn't what you're saying, but I think it was pretty. Yeah, I think it was pretty.
Orders up. I don't know.
So my choice for worst one-liner in the horror movie of 2016 was, and you can argue this is glorious because I got to admit I could not stop laughing when I heard it, but, and I hate bashing on this movie because like this, I don't think there's anything more glorious than the intentions behind Phantasm Ravager. Mm-hmm. But Nick, I know you haven't seen it, but there's a moment where they're hiding in a barn or something, and the flying spears go, and they're staring through the slats in the wood, and the spears hit the horse with the worst CGI effect you've ever seen. Mm-mm. And they start spewing horse blood everywhere. Like this thing gets sucked up like a whatever. And after this incredibly bad special effect, the guy in the barn who's watching it turns to him and he goes, "Dude, bad news about your horse."
It's like the dude made an appearance.
Like, oh my God, you did not just say that. Like the last time you could have gotten away with that movie was like 1982. Or Ash, maybe you could have pulled up. But yeah, that was pretty classic.
That line reminds me, because on the flight, one of the movies I did watch was James Cameron's Aliens. Mm-hmm. And the part right before the big business guy dies, mm-hmm. like they're all telling him, like, you did this for something gains. He says, it's a totally 80s line. He goes, "You think I did that for this man? That's just sad." He like fucking Garth's the line from Wayne's World. That's just sad. Then he gets it. That line stuck with me. Like for now on, like that's how I just want to say shit. So it's not this year, but like
no, it's fantastic.
So if I had to contribute to a one-liner.
No, that's perfect.
Off year by a lot.
It's better than mine. Any Garth reference is gonna. All right, so I have a weird category I have to explain here. I get it. I call it passing the memory test and failing the memory test. Mm-hmm. So it basically just means that it's something that you watch, and then months after you watched it, like, does it get better in your memory or does it get worse? Right? Yeah. Or can you not remember at all, more to the point, which is what my worst choice was. Mm-hmm. So I'm going with passing the memory test best is The Boy. Like, I know this is not a great movie, but yeah, that the characters they established stick out in my head way more than better movies. Like, I know I could tell you less about like the backstory of the characters in The Conjuring 2, mm-hmm. even though I've seen it twice, and I've only seen The Boy once, but I can tell you like what motivated each of them, and I can visually remember individual scenes. Like, like where is the mannequin placed? Brahms is the mannequin's name. Where is he placed in the scene? Is he sitting on a chair? Is his head at an angle? Like, I can still see it. Right, mm-hmm. That movie like had an impact in my memory that most major mainstream horror movies of 2016 didn't. So I just feel like it got better over time. Yeah. And it makes me want to watch it again, except for the last 10 minutes. Obviously, right?
Didn't want to do that.
Do you have one for?
Passing the memory test. I never finished the season, but I remember really enjoying it and wanting to watch more. Randomly, I think I'm gonna give it to Scream Queens.
Okay.
Just because it was either that or Ash vs. Evil Dead. I know Ash vs. Evil Dead, Sam Raimi are always gonna be like my number one shit in my head. So I'll love them till the end time. But Scream Queens was one that like I don't know. I remember Alex and I watching it and like really enjoying it. But it was just one of those things where like we were watching it while like we were doing something and then we just never got a chance to finish it. But like the more I think about it, the more I actually really liked Jamie Lee Curtis. Her character sort of just being like, these kids are getting killed, and I have to, I have to deal with the fact these college kids are getting dropping off like flies. But for some reason, I don't know. Obviously, well, I have to go with that because it's the passing memory test, and that's the one that popped in my memory. So it met the criteria.
You have no choice, right?
Yeah,
it got better over time. The more you thought,
it got better over time, and then I think all the quotes from Ash vs. Evil Dead get better over time. I can think about them while I'm going to bed.
Okay, well, your attention is at like 300% level while you're watching Ash vs. Evil Dead. You can't count that. It's got to be something that sneaks up on you.
Can I just throw in one more line?
Sure.
I love how full of himself Ash is, but the one line that I still think that still cracks me up is when he's in prison and he gets his phone call, and Ball, who's the villain, is imitating the guard, but he doesn't know that. It's not even relevant to the quote. So Ash is in jail, and he goes, "I want my phone call," and to the female guard, and she goes, "You have 5," and he goes, "I got 8, but I can make it feel like 5." He's so stupid. Like he's saying that shit in jail. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's the quote. I'm changing.
Well, when you can quote things exactly, they're passing the memory test.
They're passing the memory test. All right, so now.
So failing the memory test.
This is an interesting one.
This disappoints me.
Because I don't remember.
Fails. Yeah, I'd be curious what other people feel about like whatever. I was okay with Lights Out when I watched it.
Yeah.
I had a pretty good time. I love the actress who played the mom, and I thought, except for the ridiculous attempt to goth up the daughter, I love that she was a strong character with sort of like she had a really powerful arc in the story. Like she was obviously the one who was going to set things right. So I was really okay with it. I thought it was decently scary. And then getting ready for to record this episode, I was thinking about what happened, and I only remember kind of like a light switch.
Fitting.
Which is a bad sign, right?
Well, that's the poster. That's the whole premise.
And I remember the ending, right?
Yeah.
But like, I don't remember. I was hearing someone talk about the actor who played the kid in this movie, and they were like, oh, they were in this other, and they named 2 other movies, and I can't even picture his face.
Yeah.
Like I'm kind of at a loss as to like any of the really relevant details of this movie. I just don't, remember. I don't even remember if some characters made it out alive. Like I don't remember the boyfriend's alive or not at the end. I think he is, but is the boyfriend alive?
I don't fucking know.
That's what I'm saying. Like you watched it, right?
No.
Oh, never mind.
I literally have no idea.
Well, it's not gonna pass the memory test for you. But anyway, so I thought it was just.
I ended up watching Conjuring 2 on the flight.
It was way blander and generic, thinking back on it than I felt like it was when I was watching it, and it's kind of how I felt about. To flip it, I thought that was what Unfriended was, but Unfriended was better in my memory. I remember.
It's weird you mentioned that because I was looking up that movie today, forgetting that it was last year.
Right.
Because I wanted to put it on a lot of these categories.
Sure.
I really like that movie.
But no choice, right?
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
But yeah, so anyway, so Lights Out kind of like, to me, it's like memory out. No good.
So my failing the memory test, if I had a Dory it up, Finding Dory, forgetting memory loss. I didn't know if you'd.
Miraculously, I know.
Oh, wow. I actually, what I want to go with is, even though I watched all of the episodes of The Exorcist, I don't remember, like...
You hate Fox.
I don't... Well, yeah, I guess. I just don't... A lot of the subplots in The Exorcist, I didn't really care for.
Right.
I just wanted that cool Irish priest to, like, do some cool, like, exorcism shit.
Yep.
But I don't remember.
Well, the sideways plots were really convoluted. Like there was a lot going on, so that's hard to track.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I wasn't a fan of that. Like I loved what they did with Captain Howdy. I loved that Gina Davis is back. Doing some cool shit.
Yep.
I don't know if she was ever gone. I'm just glad that she was in there because I like Beetlejuice.
She was gone for horror fans.
That's true. So failing the memory test is pretty much like 80% of The Exorcist.
Fair enough.
So
Totally makes sense.
yeah.
But you remember everyone whose head turned around, I bet.
Yeah.
It's hard to
I
find.
liked what they did with the head spinning in the TV show, though. It wasn't as cutesy as it was in the movie.
That's scary that was. The sound behind it was like, I don't even know what the Foley on that is like.
Well, what was great was when you think of The Exorcist, one of the things that you think of the green projectile vomit and you think of the head spinning.
Yep.
So naturally, in the first episode, when the kid's head starts to spin, I was like, oh, shit. Here it goes. Here's the head spin. And then his neck snaps. And I'm like, oh, I forgot. That's what happens when your head does a 180.
Well, that passed the memory test.
That passed the memory test, but the rest is shit.
All right, we only have a couple categories left. This is another twin category. We have the award for the year's best and worst world building. Worst world building is the movie Incarnate. Fuck this movie. Like this
Makes me sad. I love Aaron Eckhart.
I know. I mean, this should not be bad because I love science and I love exorcisms. You mixed science and exorcisms, like I'm drinking tea with caffeine in it. Like mixing things like is good, right?
That's great.
I should be fine, right? But this movie, there are like 1,000 rules for the universe in this movie, and I was telling you haven't seen this yet, but like there is this ridiculous rule in this movie where your life can be saved by naming your favorite color and then jumping out a door that's that color, which is like, I mean, if demons could be thwarted by you imagining imaginary doors and jumping through them, then
It sounds like the demon could have been defeated by like a PBS Kids show. What's your favorite color? What's this shape? Jump through.
you're right. It's exactly, picture like Valak showing up and be like, I'm Valak. And you're like, oh yeah, here's reading rainbow. And you
Just like,
damn
it.
Valak runs like, what? But there are science rules and religious rules and psychology rules and like, none of them really matter. Like, I don't understand. This movie was building rules like it thought there was going to be Incarnate up through 2, 3, 4, 10. Like, which there's never going to be a 2. So
no.
whatever. But that was like some.
It takes less time to explain the rules to letters from Whitechapel.
Totally.
It takes a long time.
All right. Do you have a worst world building?
Worst world building. I was trying to come up with a silly answer. I was going to say Westworld. But
Hey.
no, in terms of like they actually build.
Oh, right.
Actually, but that's not nothing. Nothing's terrible with that. Actually, I don't have anything for worst. Well, I have one for best.
Go ahead.
My best world building is going to go to Preacher.
Oh, good call.
I like how they set everything up in that show.
Good call.
You get to know who the characters are in a not boring way.
Yep.
And them setting up the town, I think they did a fantastic job.
Totally. Absolutely.
So I'm going to go with Preacher.
That's a really good choice because like I remember after I watched the first episode, I felt like I knew almost everything I needed to know about where that show was going. They got a lot done in a short amount of time.
Yeah, they did. I know Alex and I were talking about. Apparently, they didn't like the way it ended, but I still think it's a great show.
No, that's a great vote. So there's 2 movies I loved in 2016 with the word witch in the title, and they both did a great job world building. So we talked about this already. The Love Witch, just crazy attention to detail, and The Witch, New England folk tale. I mean, to me, the setting was scarier than the characters, right? So, and there were rules, but they never really had to articulate them to you. You picked them up, right? Like I like world building done in visuals and hints, and not where it's a big info dump where a bunch of characters have to explain it to you, right?
That's that's
They
shitty.
knocked that out. All right, last 2 categories. So the
I have one. Okay, I found the title for it. There was a movie.
Yes.
Sorry to jump right in.
No,
but
go.
Missed Opportunity.
Yes.
Is that where we're at? There was a movie, and it just hit me because I knew I saw a trailer for a film that I really liked, and it was really eerie. And then the movie bombed real hard. I think I like your answer, but my missed opportunity is going to go to The Gallows.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember that trailer?
Yes.
It was like red and the girl's like hiding.
Yes.
And then you see this creepy fucking thing from the back.
Totally.
And then she gets dragged
I was
out the door.
psyched to see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved the trailer for it, and I was like, I actually can't wait to see this film.
Yep.
Like, because it was right. Because I think it came out the top of the. I think it came out like January-ish.
Yeah, it was early.
Beginning of the year.
Yep.
So like we had just seen like Unfriended, and I'm like, oh, like another like teeny style horror film
Yep.
that's gonna have like a
It was
R
a
rating.
great premise.
Yeah, like the kid gets hung.
Right.
I thought it sounded really cool. But then it just got
No, it was a terrible movie. I watched half of it.
yeah, it was shit. So I think that's my biggest missed opportunity. It
That's-
still made bank off of a small budget. So like they're
Not
doing-
hard to do in horror. But
yeah, but missed opportunity in just terms
No,
of
no,
having
that's
a
a
good
great
story.
choice. That's actually better than mine. The only reason mine's on there, so I picked Morgan, which isn't really horror, but the reason that was a missed opportunity to me was like you have a really, really good cast and you have a premise where, so like, this is going to be a weird metaphor, but they asked like Barack Obama, like, what's the job of a U.S. president in the last, year of their term or whatever. And he was like, a big part of it is like, you're a relay runner. You get things ready to hand the baton off to the next person. Right. So like the transition is like something that's really important, like whatever. So horror AI has had a long tradition. One of my favorite movies of all time that's like sci-fi horror is a movie called Colossus, The Foreman Project. And then Ex Machina just kicked us off.
Yeah.
It was like, it's a new era. We know so much more about AI and how scary it could be. And here's a great horror AI premise. And they nailed it, right? So now they just handed the baton to you. And now, you've got a huge budget and a great cast and powerful writers. And you make Morgan. Which should have been amazing, right? Mm-hmm. But it was like the classic example of something that is way too predictable, right? Like I was watching it with Jenny and she didn't know anything about it. She didn't even know it existed as a movie. And like 3 minutes into it, she was like, oh, this and this. And that was,
Calls it out.
yeah. And I was like, wow, that is amateur hour that you can't hide that from someone who has no idea. So it was not scary and not, barely interesting. And you had fucking Paul Giamatti in there and his scene was great. Mm-hmm. You can't have a bad movie with Paul Giamatti in it. What? What?
Yeah, you can't.
Even Ides of March was good. What? Anyway, so
Terrible.
drop the ball.
Terrible. All right, so now kick off this last one here.
Oh, the best prediction?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to give ourselves an award, right? So the
Oh, that's true. We did have-
2016
It wasn't that hard to guess. Though.
best prediction we made during a podcast was we did a podcast episode on the best 5th installment of all time in horror movie franchises, which objectively at this point by websites like Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes is Final Destination 5, which is one of the very, very few 5th installment movies over 50% fresh on Rotten
Yeah.
Tomatoes.
And we both enjoyed it
Yeah.
too.
Absolutely. I thought it was one of the 3 best in the series, easily, right? So but while we were talking about it, we got nervous because we wanted it to be the best one because that was the subject of our fucking podcast.
Yeah.
But right before we recorded the podcast, Phantom Ravager dropped
Yeah.
or is about to drop, right?
They released a trailer, I believe.
Right. And it was rated at like 75%.
Yeah, the people like the hype behind it. People wanted to see.
76% on Rotten Tomatoes. So it was like one tick up from Final Destination. So our choice might have been dethroned if it had held the course.
And that just wasn't going to fly.
And we were like, we don't think it's going to end up with as good a rating. I was so excited it was a thing and coming out, and I love the the longevity of that series, and I love the first two movies in particular, but it's currently like at 42% of Rotten Tomatoes, and we
Which is
knew
higher than what I thought it was going to be. I don't remember what my actual prediction was. I have to go back and listen.
yeah,
But
we knew it was going down. So Final Destination 5 still reigns unchallenged, and
that's the best prediction.
we called it. Yep.
Do we have any other predictions we want to make right
For
now?
2017?
Is there anything we can guess for 2017? So this time next year, we sit down.
This time next year, we're going to sit down, and I'm going to drink caffeinated tea.
That's your prediction. I'm going to hold you to it.
Okay. Hold on. No.
Too late.
Well, you'll be quoting Ash vs. the Evil Dead. I'll be drinking caffeinated tea. I don't know.
I'll be on season 3. Hopefully.
Season 3. I don't know. I don't know what to predict. I don't pay a lot of attention to upcoming horror news, so I'm sort of at a loss. Do you have anything for?
Yeah, Ash vs. Evil Dead season 3.
It's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be great. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to confidently be able to tell you this time next year, Ash vs. Evil Dead season 3 was great. And I'm super glad they renewed it for a 4th season.
Oh, nice.
That's my thing. I have a
Good
feeling
call.
they'll renew it for a 4th season. I don't know when it ends because I never want it to end.
If
If I had to make a prediction right now, how many seasons that show will last?
Oh, that's not bad. Okay.
Right now, just for the books. My initial gut was at minimum between 4 and 8. 8's a lot. 8's
a lot.
8's where I'd like to see it. But I'm guessing.
8's a lot. Sopranos only made 6.
I know.
Right.
Okay, I'm just going to go balls to the wall. I'm going to say Ash vs. Evil Dead will go 6 seasons. That's my
pretty
prediction. I mean, we won't know this time
That's
next
pretty
year, obviously, but this is just a Nick's wild prediction. See
I'm
where
going to
we're
make a
at.
prediction. Ash
Okay.
versus the Evil Dead is going to have more seasons than games the Cleveland Browns are going to win next year.
We can do that.
How's that for a prediction?
There we go. Okay, that's a good
I'm
prediction.
actually also I'm going to predict that I'm going to really like a movie called Cure for Wellness. I love the marketing for this movie. It's a quiet looking horror movie. And if you haven't seen the marketing for it, it's really, really intriguing because it's kind of like a dark turn on self-help. So when you go to the videos, it's kind of like, click this if you want to meditate. And then it's just like this quiet, like meditating voice. And underneath it's like, just relax, let out your breath and kill yourself and you'll be fine. Like just breathe in, breathe out. And you're like, wait, what did I just hear? Like, so it's pretty, it's a pretty interesting marketing campaign. I'm really intrigued by it.
I have one more prediction here. So let me just look this up real quick. So Robert Eggers, the director of The Witch.
Yep.
So he directed The Witch. It's currently at a 91% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. He, according to the news and stuff, he's going to be doing Nosferatu.
Yes.
So I'm going to guess. These are not 2017 predictions at all, but we're going to throw these out there because we're wizards and we called the 5th one. I'm going to say Nosferatu. It's not going to come out next year, but I have a feeling something will happen with it. When it comes out, I want to guess 82% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's pretty specific.
And I'm going to guess that The Mummy, what's kicking off the Universal Monster
This
thing.
is ballsy. Okay.
I'm going to guess it has Tom Cruise in it and a lot of cool shit that I'm super stoked for. I'm guessing 61%.
All right. I'm going to put The Mummy at 48.
48? All right. You say 48, I say 61. I don't think it's going to be what people like us would want, but
I'm not saying that it's a 48 movie in quality. I'm just saying I think it's going to land at 48 given how they do review aggregation at Rotten Tomatoes. But that'll be interesting. I like this. I like the specific number predictions.
yeah.
And while we're on number predictions, I predict that this time next year when we're talking, the Hello Weekly Facebook page will have 10,000 fans or more.
Well, yeah, you're in control.
They're in control.
10,000 fans. Okay. I'll say 10,000 fans, and I have a feeling we're gonna have some people from the movies we interviewed or we talked about in the show on the show.
Good.
So that's my prediction.
All right. These are strong predictions.
These are strong predictions.
I love it.
So that's okay. So that wraps up.
And then we're going to close out with. So we're just going to blitz through the list of the Halloweekly choices for best 13 movies of 2016. But before I go through the list, is there anything on here, not on here, that you really want to call out? Movies, not shows.
The call out is in like
that missing that had to be on here that you're like this.
Well, I mentioned Don't Breathe a lot on there, and that's not, but that's okay. I don't know how I'm so weird about that. Maybe I'm like, yeah, I liked it. I loved it. I didn't like this part, but I love that part.
I feel the same way.
I think you screwed the pooch and didn't put Yoga Hosers.
Damn it, Nick, you're right. There. We should. I know we should have emailed each other before. Okay.
Okay. So go through the list.
This is going to be on our Facebook page and Letterboxd with some reasons why. This is the Halloweekly list for the 13 best movies of 2016. This was recently amended when I discovered that a couple of these movies were 2016, not 2015. Because I feel like there's a couple of movies out here that we've been talking about.
Doesn't matter.
Since I was born. But at number 13 is the amazing movie The Wailing. Mm-hmm. Number 12 is a movie that you probably, even if you listen to this, you probably haven't seen, called Sunchoke, which is a really, really interesting psychological horror movie. Number 11 is Train to Busan, which is not as original as it probably hoped to be, but is still super intense and well executed. Number 10 is Amanda Knox documentary that we talked about. Number 9 is I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House. Number 8 is Ouija, Origin of Evil. Number 7 is, you might have heard this movie mentioned once or twice, Conjuring 2.
Never heard of it.
Number 6 is Hush. Number 5 is Green Room, Making the Moolah. Number 4 is 10 Cloverfield Lane. Number 3 is Under the Shadow. The second best horror movie of 2016, according to us, is The Love Witch. And number 1 is... Go ahead, Nick.
The Witch.
Why did you say it like Black Phillip?
Yeah, I know you did. Black Phillip wanted me to say it like Black Phillip. He's still teaching me how to fly.
I mean, The Witch is
it's a slow burn. Some people didn't like it as a slow burn,
totally.
But I mean, given the production of the film itself,
yep,
how it was executed,
yep,
I think it's 91% Rotten Tomatoes. If you dig what they go with,
totally.
I mean, Jesus.
But beyond that, like honestly, my feeling about like how this is going to work is that I think 2016 was not as good a year for horror as 2015, but you know, people in this genre should be heartened and want to encourage the level of effort that's going into movies like The Witch and The Love Witch, and even Under the Shadow, which tackles a really difficult subject like war, which we had talked about on a previous podcast too, right? So these people are trying challenging things. They're trying to get things right and done accurately and still be scary and entertaining and fun. And I love it. And they nailed it. So and you let us know what you think at the Facebook page, right?
Yeah, let us know what you think. Let us know why we're right on every answer. Or
do that on Twitter.
Yeah.
No one will see it.
Let us know what you think. And if you are a writer, director, producer, actor,
all right,
who
make our prediction come true,
who won an award, look, hit us up on the Facebook page, because I just want to let you guys know right now.
Yeah, I'm looking right at
there's some Bed Bath & Beyond 20% offers. I'm looking right here. So it's first come, first serve. You don't want to be last.
Nick, you know the only people collecting that are the team behind the Disappointments Room, right? Because
No, I think the blind dude from Don't Breathe is gonna ask if we got any PetSmart dog chow.
Oh yeah.
You never know. You never know. So
Awesome.
until next year, for the second annual, because if we don't do it again, it's not annual. So
Now we're forced to.
No, we have to do it. Until next time, it's Hollow Weekly. Talk to you guys later.
Bye.